So if you've been following me for a while now, most of you guys know I have talked about a game called Exoborne. And when the developers of Exoborne Shark Mob reached out to me and asked me, would I like to play Exoborne early? Of course I was gonna say yes. But don't get too jealous, you guys will also have a chance to play starting September 16th during their closed test. Now if you wanna sign up for that, you need to head over to Steam. There's also a link pinned in the comments. But before we go any further, I do wanna say thank you to Shark Mob for sponsoring this video. Let's get into it and let's talk about Exoborne. And some of you might be watching this video wondering, well, what is Exoborne? Because this is the first time you've ever heard of this game. Well, Exoborne is an open world tactical extraction shooter set in a world torn apart by extreme forces of nature. And you might even see in the background, there are tornadoes literally closing in on top of me. Now, this game is PvEVP, meaning that you will have NPCs and players to be on the lookout for, along with nature itself. Now, it has been 6 months since I was able to play this game. If you guys all remember, last February, they actually had a playtest where we could stream it and actually make videos on it. And that was actually the last time I had played this. I left that playtest wanting more. I actually thought Exoborne was really fun and something I could see myself playing in the future. Now, many of you guys might ask, well, what makes Exoborne feel different than other extraction shooters? What makes it stand out? Well, first off, Exoborne has these exo-suits, and these exo-suits are essentially classes, right? So each one of these has unique abilities, providing you a different play style. Now, one major change that they recently introduced that we didn't get to see in the last playtest is now there is permanent progression. So that means you're always working towards something with your exo-suit, and as you get stronger and stronger and keep leveling up each exo-suit, each of those exo-suits are going to now allow you to add different mods. And as you start to mod these exo-suits, that's where the power fantasy starts. And that's something we didn't really get to see in previous playtests. Along with exo-suits, the way the developers introduce weather and how it's a core mechanic to the game, and if you're not paying attention, you could actually die from the weather in Exoborne. There's a lot of different ways for you to take damage, including lightning, which you just saw, and let me not mention these tornadoes that can cause damage to you, essentially killing you. So you always need to be careful. But as you guys saw, you can also use the change of weather to your advantage, allowing you to move across the map faster than you normally would due to those huge wind gusts. Now, there were 3 different towns we got to go into, essentially 3 different maps, where Maynard was probably the biggest map, and then Agnesville and the Sinkhole were the smaller maps. Now, on the bigger map, I will say I felt like I ran into engagements a lot less with other players, and that could be because we had a smaller playtest for creators, so there weren't that many other players on the bigger map. But once we got to that small map, holy, the PvP was nonstop and the action was intense. Now, some of you guys may ask, well, how are the enemies non-players in Exoborne? Are there any challenging enemies, or do the enemies just not feel challenging at all? And I'll tell you, in Exoborne, there are going to be some battles that you encounter that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Like, you see this big tank. I don't even know what to call this thing, but this thing was chasing me around. I was unloading everything I had on it, and I almost died a few times. And I'll tell you, this was probably one of the more challenging battles I've had in Exoborne. And for this playtest, I tried queuing up, but again, I said it was a little bit smaller. So most of the time I was solo. So battles like this were even harder than normal, because as a solo player in Exoborne, I'm not just worried about this tank killing me. I'm worried about what if another squad hears me, right? Because when you engage in these tough battles, you're making a lot of noise. Gunshots can be heard across the map. So you always have to be on your toes and worried about who could be sneaking up behind you. Now, it took me a good 10 to 15 minutes to take out this boss, but when I finally took him out, it was all worth the effort because I was able to snatch up a purple artifact. And if you guys don't know what artifacts do, well, they can grant you some pretty rare items, and purple is on the rare side. Now, once you've collected enough loot and say your bag is full and you want to head back to base, you need to either make it to an extraction beacon or look for those drop ships that are placed around the map. And that was actually one of the bigger changes that I think is actually a pretty good change, because when you do use these extraction beacons, other players and teams will know you're extracting if they are nearby, because they're gonna see a beacon going off. So that is something for you to keep in mind when you guys do use these extraction beacons. Always be on the lookout for other players looking to steal your loot, because there are players out there on the hunt and you might have the loot that they want. In Exoborn, you have different tiers of loots. You have legendary, epic, rare, uncommon, common, with each tier providing better bonuses. You also have the ability to craft weapons, weapon attachments, exo abilities, armor, backpacks, and catalysts using materials that you can scavenge during your raids. Now, I know I'm gonna get the question, is this game third person or first person? Can you stay in third person and aim down sights? Well, in Exoborn, when you're aiming down sights, you will go into first person, and when you're moving around, you will be in third person. I feel like it's very hard to nail this type of gameplay, and Exoborn does a really good job doing just that. No matter if I was using an assault rifle, SMG, marksman rifle, every weapon felt satisfying to use. Now, the only time you can stay in third person while firing is if you do hip fire, and a lot of people tend to do that with the SMGs because those are pretty accurate, even hip firing, and there's a couple mod attachments that allow you to do that more effectively. And yes, you heard me correctly. I did mention mod attachments. So each weapon, you can attach different mods all the way up to legendary mods. The higher the tier, the better the bonuses, making your weapons even stronger. For loadouts, you can carry up to 2 different weapons, 2 different skills, armor, a backpack, a catalyst, and even a secure cache, meaning if you die, those items will still be extracted with you. Now, on your raids, you'll have quests that you can complete, and then there's daily activities for you to do challenges. So there's always something for you to do when you go out for your raids. And as you progress through your quest line, you will start to earn better and better rewards. One thing I would have liked to experience a little bit more during this playtest would be playing with other players. I will say this was a very small playtest, so when I did queue in for games, it was a coin toss if I even got 1 player, which is something I honestly really missed in this playtest, because when you do have 3 players, it's not just being able to fight back against other 3-man squads, but there's also POIs that are a lot more difficult to do solo. And then not only that, now you have to worry about full squads coming behind you. So it was just a very different experience during this playtest than the playtest I originally had 6 months ago that we were allowed to stream. And the one time I did get 2 other players, I will tell you, it was night and day. And that's where Exoborn actually shines. In team fights, being able to push teams, flank teams, cover each other. The way this game is set up to play with other players, the movement, very fast-paced action, the gunfights are fun, intense. This is where Exoborn honestly really shines. And that's why I'm so excited for the next close test on September 16th to be able to squad up with other players and just engage in some intense battles. And all of you have the chance to also participate in the close test. All you have to do is head over to Steam. You can click the link down below, wishlist it, and then hit sign up for the closed test. And maybe we'll see each other out there on the battlefield. We're gonna wrap this one up here, guys. Hey, thanks again for the support. See you in the next one. Nothing but skills out.